Hey guys, so I have here this CanaKit Raspberry Pi 4, and this is a short instructions manual how to do the hardware setup. And what we have here is the case, and then we have here three different heatsinks, a fan, micro SD card, HDMI cable, and of course the Raspberry Pi 4. So now let's start with the setup. And first we have to make sure that we're not statically charged, and also we don't want to touch the Raspberry Pi just anywhere. Just try to touch it on the outside, or for example here on the Ethernet and the USB ports. And so now first I'm starting here with attaching the heatsinks. There's three different sizes, and I'm starting out with the biggest one. If you look at the back side, there's here this adhesive tape here. And we're just going to take this blue tape off, and now we can just easily stick this here onto the CPU. That is here the big silver one. Just place it, try to place it on there. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, so it's okay if it's not sitting out perfectly. Then the second heatsink here, that goes onto the SD-RAM chip. I'm going to put that in here, on here the same way. And then the smallest one also has the tape on the back side. We attach this here to the USB 3 controller. I'm using here some tweezers because it's just easier to get there with those tweezers. Okay, so as soon as we have attached all the heatsinks, then we can start to place the board here into this case. This is here a three-parted case. We can just take all the sides off. See, this is how this belongs. Don't accidentally put it on the wrong way. You can see here there's these two gaps here where the SD card slot is. And now in order to install the board, you can see on the left side there's this little gap there where you can slide the PCB into, and then on the right side it will just go down by itself automatically. See here how nice and straight this sits in there. It's really important that this sits in there just like that. And now the next thing is that we have to install here the fan. You don't have to install the fan, but I do suggest it, especially if you do a little bit more higher performance stuff with your board. And you have here the GPIO pins, and there's three different pins that we may use. So we have one ground, that's pin number 6, and then we can either use pin number 1, which has 3.3 volts, or pin number 4, which has 5 volts. So if you use pin number 1, then the fan is going to run relatively slow and make pretty much no noise. And if you use the pin number 4, then it's going to be a lot faster, and it is going to make some noise. So depending on what you're using the Pi for, you can choose here where to connect this. See here, this is pin number 4 for the red lead, and then pin number 1 is down here. See, and this is what I'm actually going to use. So I'm going to use the lower RPMs here with the pin number 1, and then the pin number 6 for the ground. Okay, so then we install here the frame. Of course, it only works one way here, so this is where the cutouts are for the USB ports and the Ethernet port. We feed the fan through the big hole here. Now you can see here how nice this all looks. This is how this should look like. So make sure everything is aligned right. And then the fan here, this is depending on which way you want the fan to blow, you can install this here into the lid of the Pi, of the case. So you see here when this blower here is turning, then you see which way the air is going to be pushed. So it's going to, in this case, going to be pushed away from the camera, so into the picture here, into the view. And I want this fan to actually blow right onto the heatsinks. So see this direction here. So this is why I put this blower into the lid just like this here. So in this case, it's going to suck in the air from the top. It's going to blow it down onto the heatsinks and cool the heatsinks that way. And then we just put the lid on top here, make sure that the wires are not in the way. Next, I'm installing the micro SD card. Really simple, of course, so just make sure you put this in here the right way. In this case here, the contacts are facing up towards the board. and just slide it in there all the way. And then as soon as we've done this, we're connecting here the power supply. In this case, the CanaKit comes here with this USB Type-C on-off switch. See this? On the right side you have the USB Type-C connector, and then on the left side there's this little switch. And there's another port, USB Type-C port, that you can actually connect your power supply into. We're getting close to done here, so at this point we install the HDMI cable. And here you have the micro HDMI, which is going to be connected to the Raspberry Pi. And if you look here on the sides, you have two HDMI ports. Then one is marked number 0 and one number 1. And we want to use the one number 0. This is the one that's going to work for us. Just connect this here. And then the other end, of course, we connect to our monitor. And now at last, it's time to take a look at the USB ports. Here are these blue USB ports, USB 3, and then USB 2 is the black ones. Those are the slower ones, and that's what we're going to use for our mouse and keyboards. Don't use the blue ones, because those are actually faster and you want to attach like hard drives and stuff to that. Okay, so now it's time to actually turn on the power switch here. We're going to press on that, and it's going to take a couple of seconds for the board to start up. It's going to initialize, and eventually we're going to see this screen here, and it gives us the option between two different OSs, and I'm going to select here the Raspberry Pi Debian, and now we can install this, which takes quite a while. So it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to install, so you can do something else while we do that. We're going to fast forward that here really rapidly in this video, and eventually it's going to be successfully installed. Now all we have to do is just confirm this. The Pi is going to go through a quick reset here, reboot, and then we are going to see our welcome screen, and it's going to guide us through the initial setup of our Raspberry Pi 4 here. Okay, so hope this video is helpful. If you have any more questions, leave a comment below. Don't forget to check out my other videos about this Raspberry Pi.